One of the first choices you ever make in Skyrim is which of the 10 races presented to you you're going to play as, each of them coming with certain benefits, certain powers and passives, but of course some are simply more powerful, more useful than others. The starting stats are pretty much irrelevant, you can just level whatever you want, but those abilities and bonuses are with you for the entire game, so which ones are the best? Sorry Wood Elf fans, but they really got the short end of the stick here. They have resist poison and disease by 50% as their passive, which is pretty garbage as curing either is easy and poison barely does any damage to begin with, and their power command animal just gets replaced by the animal allegiance shout. And how many times have you ever used that? The only reason Khajiits are not last is because the extra claw damage can possibly be useful. Maybe you're doing some sort of niche unarmed build or something. Fair enough. But Night Eye is an awful ability. It just is. Skyrim really is not that dark. Now we start getting into not completely garbage territory. Imperials can use the Voice of the Emperor ability to calm all nearby enemies, which isn't awful, but really, they're here for their Imperial Luck passive, which just lets you find more gold. It's not much, but there's nothing to complain about. People always say Red Guards are the worst race to pick, and sure, the 50% poison resist is bad, as we already discussed, but the Adrenaline Rush ability is actually really useful. It gives you essentially infinite power attacks, which is fantastic for your damage output. The reason they're not higher on the list is simply that if you're anything but a melee character, it's really not all that useful. Dark Elves simply have a flat 50% fire resistance, which is fantastic. Any mages that use fire, Dragon Breath, Flame Antronax, and anything else fiery is now less effective against you. You really can't complain with that. Sure, the power isn't that powerful, the Flame Cloak that does 8 points of damage per second, but it's something. Might as well just slap it on for the extra damage, and hey, maybe you're fighting that Frost Troll on the way to High Hrothgar early on, and you're not a mage so you don't have fire damage. Well, just slap that on and you're good to go. And it's a similar story for the Nords, 50% frost resistance, a similarly great passive. They can also use the Battle Cry ability to make targets flee, which is arguably more useful than an underpowered Flame Cloak spell. But now we start getting into the good stuff, and I know what you're thinking already, but you put Red Guards so low because they only help melee builds, and High Elves only help mages, and yes they do. However, they help way more. Not only do they have the same power as the Red Guards, but for magic instead, but their power gives a flat 50 points of extra magicka for you to pull from. That's an extra 5 levels worth, which at the start of the game is ridiculously useful, and will always be there for you to pull from no matter what level you are. But now we're into the top 3, and this is where we're getting into no matter your playstyle, it's a good choice territory. Remember the High Elf and Red Guard powers? Well, the Argonians have that for health. You're essentially invincible for the duration. You can't argue that's a bad power. And on top of that, you can breathe underwater. Not the most useful thing, but it's pretty cool. The Orcs actually don't have any passives, but their power is just that good that it earns them the number 2 spot. You do double damage and take half damage from all sources. It's simple, sure, but it's fantastic. Take any build. How good is it? Great, now double it. That's what the Orc does. It's simple, but damn is it effective. But the number 1 spot, the most useful Tamrielic race to play as, no matter your class, is of course the Breton. Just by being one, you have automatically made every mage, dragon, and enchantment 25% less effective against you. And yes, technically the Orc does more percentage-wise, but that is a time-limited ability. The Breton always has this active no matter what, and the power further augments this, as you gain 50% magic absorption. Pair that with the Antronax Stone, and you are now essentially invulnerable to magic. But that power really isn't the main selling point here, it is simply the 25% magic resist. It is just so ridiculously powerful, especially when you realize that both poison and disease fall under that too. This one passive combines the passives of half of all the other races in the game. No matter what builds you have, the Breton is never a bad choice. And there you have it, all 10 playable races ranked. But of course, stats and abilities aren't the whole story. Which ones are your favorites? Leave your thoughts down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.